Hi, I'm Chris Lewis, firefighter for the Lakeville Fire Department, and welcome to another edition of On Call. The goal of this program is to educate and inform the citizens of Lakeville about how Lakeville's all-volunteer fire department trains and responds to emergencies. Let's take a look at what's coming up on this edition of On Call. We take a look at the challenges of a vehicle fire in a parking structure and how we train for such an event. Next, Fire Chief Mike Meyer shows us how we check our gear and why it's so important for the safety of our firefighters. We answer a viewer's question and ask the firefighter, and then I will highlight some recent activity here at the fire department. And we wrap things up with Scratch the Fire Dog as he travels around Lakeville looking at fire hydrants. It is estimated that over 185,000 vehicle fires occur in the United States every year, which represents 17% of all reported fires. Mechanical or electrical failures or malfunctions were factors in roughly 3/4 of vehicle fires. Personal injuries to occupants is extremely low, but with flammable fuel, exploding tires and shocks, and advanced electrical systems, especially on new hybrids, the risks to firefighters are high when responding to these types of fires. While most vehicle fires happen outside on the street or in a parking lot, they can usually be easily controlled. But this can be an entirely different situation when car fires happen in a parking structure where they are parked close together and firefighters have limited access to the vehicles. Joining me now is District Chief Brian Kilmartin. Brian, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell us what we're training about?
Well, tonight's training is at Highview Hills. Station 1 is at Highview Hills in the underground parking garage, and we're training on car fires. It's kind of a combination of pre-plan and car fires, but it's pre-planning what happens if there's a car fire.
Okay, so what kind of challenges or what would we be looking at if there was a car fire, say in a facility like this?
In a facility like this, the problem one is that there's cars right on top of each other.
Okay.
I mean, they're side by side. The parking garage is approximately 300 plus feet long with a couple of curves in it. So our problem first off is getting to the fire. It's a lot of hose, it's a lot of work for us to drag in here. Most of our hose lays on our trucks aren't set up to go 300 feet right off the bat, so we're gonna have to drag in hose. It'll be uncharged hose probably most of the way and then charge it. Again, we're just dealing with a massive amount of cars in a small space where we cannot bring a truck in. Luckily, this structure at Highview Hills is sprinkled, so our car fire would hopefully not be too big. It hopefully wouldn't spread to another car. There may be some damage, but we likely, if the sprinklers are working well as they're designed, we probably wouldn't have more than one car fire.
Okay, and so what other hazards? I mean, we'd have, just access. I mean, we couldn't get a truck down here, obviously.
Correct.
Would we have like visibility? Would we have?
Absolutely. We're going to have, car fires produce a lot of smoke. There's a lot of plastics, a lot of petroleum products, the tires, the seats, and things like that. So you're going to have a lot of dense black smoke. So right off the bat, visibility is going to be a problem, especially in a space where the smoke's going to go nowhere. It's going to hit the ceiling, which we have, I don't know, here we might have, what, a 10-foot ceiling. 10 feet's that's going to give it a good solid surface to just hang on and start to spread. There's a lot of air movement down here just naturally, so it's going to move right away. That doesn't really do us a lot of good either. So we have a low clearance. We can't get a truck in. We've got a lot of cars with a lot of petroleum products. But again, hopefully that sprinkler system above our heads here would keep it in check.
Okay, and because we are in the basement, and if, say, we had a car fire that was fully involved, what would the people above us have to do or worry about?
Well, chances are the only way that the residents above us would know what was going on is there will be a water flow alarm once the sprinkler head trips or heads trip. So there would be a general fire alarm that would start to sound the horn strobes in the building, and people would start to move. They really wouldn't know where the fire is or what the problem was. Possibly, the crews were just talking that maybe the person at the front desk would know it's a water flow alarm in zone, let's say zone 1, and possibly that person knows what zone 1 is. It's probably the parking garage. Could be any zone, but just an example. So at least someone on site would have an idea where the fire is, but they're not going to know what the fire is. They're not going to know it's a car fire. They're not going to know it's a dumpster fire, but some basic information.
Okay, all right, so we'd be looking at access, visibility and heat, possibly, residents living here might get confused or worried, might evacuate to the parking garage.
It's possible.
You know, if the weather was bad as well, that might be a factor too. If, you know, say it was cold or something like that. So these are all challenges that we'd be looking
Sure,
at here,
absolutely
which is why we train.
Absolutely correct.
Okay. So do we have a lot of facilities like this around Lakeville, like underground parking ramps or?
We do. We have several. I guess pick a number off the top of my head. I couldn't. I know that we do have several. What I also know is that not every one of them is sprinkled. A non-sprinkled underground parking garage poses a whole nother chapter, a whole nother group of problems. I said earlier that in this facility we're going to have something suppressing the fire immediately or in the first minute, and it's going to go until we shut the water off. In an unsprinkled environment, now we're going to have more than one car fire because we have nothing stopping it until we, the fire department, get here and put water on the fire. So there are facilities that are sprinkled. There's probably, I'm going to guess there's probably a half a dozen sprinkled and a half a dozen not sprinkled throughout town.
Okay.
And possibly with lesser headroom or lesser ceiling clearance also.
Okay.
Which just brings the smoke closer to us quicker.
Okay, which is why we would be on air.
Absolutely.
And stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So when we have underground parking ramps in different facilities. What about like the parking ramp for the bus that goes downtown?
Oh, sure, over in Station 3's area on Kenrick. Similar problem. Definitely not sprinkled. It's outside. Low headroom or ceiling height. So the smoke's going to bank down closer to us quicker. That doesn't mean that it's going to exhaust quicker because it's out in the open. That smoke could very well hang at the ceiling and pose problems to us. The plus there at the parking ramp for the buses, the plus is that it has standpipes in it. So we still could connect or would connect to fire department connection and be able to pump water through the standpipe system, but we still have to carry the hoses into the parking garage or into the parking ramp. In most all, I'll say apartment buildings, something similar to what we're in at Highview Hills, or the parking ramp that we were just speaking about, we would use what's called an apartment pack. Apartment pack is a predetermined bundle of hose containing 2 bundles of 1 3/4 hose, which is what we normally use to fight the average fire, a gated Y with a 2.5-inch hose, predetermined length, on the backside of that. And the idea behind that is it's a big duffel bag, if you will, that we can pick up with that predetermined amount of hoses in it, and we can connect to what's called a standpipe. A standpipe in, say, Highview Hills. There's a standpipe connection for us on every level in each stairwell. So we would hook into the fire department connection, let's say at the parking ramp. We're going to lay a hydrant hose across Kenrick, supply it from the fire hydrant into the engine. The engine will pump into the fire department connection, which supplies water to the standpipes. We will pick the appropriate standpipe, whether it be downwind, the floor below, whatever the case may be, based on our training. We connect the 2.5 to the standpipe, supply water to the gated Y, and now we have 2 1 3/4 hand lines that we normally do. That's an average firefight, is 2 1 3/4 hand lines, and that's how we would fight the fire.
Well, Brian, thanks for joining us tonight and walking us through what kind of training we have to do if there's a car fire. I hope we never have to fight a fire in a facility like this or the ramp, but I'm glad we trained for it.
Well, thank you for having me.
Could one of these people start a deadly fire? Careless smoking is the #1 cause of fire fatalities. However, most fires are preventable. So, will one of these people start a deadly fire? It's up to them. You can protect your family and your home from fire. Visit GetYourButtOutside.com. Brought to you by the Minnesota State Fire Chiefs Association and the Minnesota Fair Plan.
Hi, I'm Derrick Gaborski, firefighter out of Station 1. And today's Ask the Firefighter question comes from Liz, who lives in Lakeville. And Liz wants to know, how many emergencies does the fire department respond to each year? Thanks for your question, Liz. This past year, Lakeville Fire Department responded to over 900 calls of service, including vehicle accidents, structure fires, medical assists, and a variety of other situations where the fire department is needed. Many of these are not emergencies. The largest segment of our calls can be categorized as false alarms and good intent. While some people think the fire department goes on a lot of fire calls only, about 12% actually are. We respond to more vehicle accidents and carbon monoxide or hazardous conditions than fire calls. Lakeville Fire Department tries to separate all incidents evenly between our 4 stations, but usually Station 1 and 4 have a higher number of calls when compared to Stations 2 and 3. So as you may already know, firefighters have to be trained in all aspects for first responders, not just how to fight a fire. Thanks, Liz, for your question. If you have a question for Ask the Firefighter, send it to us using the information on your screen.
Welcome to another edition of Chief's Corner. I'm Fire Chief Mike Meyer, and I'm joined by Taber Akin, the lieutenant out of Station 2, and we're here to talk about our gear and all the safety features of it and what we're doing in the future with the gear. Welcome, Taber.
Thanks, Chief. Good to be here.
Let's talk a little bit about our bunker gear as far as the PPE that we wear for everyday calls that we go on, and the main purpose, what's behind it, and then what we have to do with the gear on an annual basis.
Sure. Well, as you indicated, this is what we refer to as bunker gear, turnout gear, or PPE, personal protective equipment, and that is the primary purpose of the gear, is to protect the firefighter. So in Lakeville, as you know, you'll see folks will see firefighters wearing this gear on every call. Anytime we are responding, you'll see firefighters with most or all of the gear on, depending on what the type of response is.
Excellent. Normally, when you guys leave the station, you're coming down from your houses, so you're putting on your pants at the bare minimum if it's a medical. Once we get into a bigger call, a car accident, or a fire, or even a vehicle fire, then we're going to be fully dressed to the coat, the helmet, and everything with that.
Correct. Yep. So like in most firefighters' lockers, you'll see the minimum is the boots, and the boots and the pants are set up together so that a firefighter can get them on and get dressed relatively quickly. And so in this case, these are my boots and pants, and so then I can pull the suspenders, step into the boots, pull them up, zip buckle, and throw the suspenders on and have the pants on and be ready to go. I think the other piece is that the weather is indicative of what you're putting on. At this time of the year in the winter, where it makes sense to put everything on. In the summer, if you're going to a brush fire, this gear is really hot and it can be awfully warm. So we might wear a lighter weight brush coat or something like that still protects the firefighter, but minimizes the risk to that high temperature and that overheating.
So what is as far as the gear, let's talk about what the protection that it does provide for the firefighters when it's related to a fire.
Sure. Well, the key piece is putting all of the gear on, and so the gear is intended to be worn as a complete package and not just part of the gear, not just wearing just the pants and then just wearing a sweatshirt or something like that, or a t-shirt, but it's intended for all of the pieces of gear, especially in the case like you were describing with a fire. And so the bunker coat is the easiest to look at, but it's essentially got 3 pieces. It's got the external, the shell, which has reflective pieces built into it. I think the important piece to note on this is this is fire resistant. It's not fireproof. So a lot of people think that, a lot of folks think firefighters are just impenetrable from fire, and that's not accurate. It gives us a little extra window, a little bit of extended time to be inside a dangerous situation, but it doesn't give us unlimited. And so this external piece is going to be the primary piece that's going to protect from that heat. It's made of Nomex as the ingredient that's slowing that fire down and allowing that heat resistant piece, and that's a really important part of the gear. And then there's an internal layer as well that's doing some additional heat resistance in here and giving that firefighter another layer, but then also giving some moisture and an internal piece that's protecting the firefighter here as well. So those pieces, multiple pieces put together, it's got a zipper in it so it can come apart, and important piece that folks don't see, but firefighters are regularly doing, is washing their gear and trying to keep it clean. Keeping it clean keeps it working well, keeps the chemicals and so forth that we might pick up from a fire out of the gear, and keep it high functioning.
Yep. And as far as when we look at this gear, there's a lifespan that's equated to this, as far as that we can't use it indefinitely for the life of a firefighter, for instance.
Yep. So I think the lifespan's 10 years is the end of the gear that it has to be taken out of service. And in Lakeville, we're trying for around a 5-year turnaround with getting firefighters into new gear, and then moving a piece of gear like this into a backup or a piece of spare gear. We have spare turnout gear in the station. If there's a firefighter that's not assigned to Station 2 that was here, that we would be able to get that person in some gear and get them on a truck. So it would be rotated. That used gear might be rotated into a spare capacity or backup if my gear is being repaired. If there's something wrong with it, I might be able to get, I would have some spare gear that I could use in the meantime.
Yep. And then that also fills in for when you're washing your gear, because this is not a throw it in the wash machine, throw it in the dryer, and an hour later it's done. This is probably about a 4-hour process to get your gear washed and back in service.
It's usually part of a weekend of setting aside some time to come down and get it taken apart, get it in the washer, come back, get it into the dryer, and when it's all dried, spend a little bit getting it all put back together so that it's functioning and working well.
All right, and then let's move on to some other pieces of our gear. So we've got the jacket and the pants.
Yep.
The boots are obviously integrated into your pants, but they're an integral part of that because they also provide protection for certain things. Can you tell me a little bit about those?
Yep. Well, I mean, the boots, it's obviously a higher boot, so it's getting some protection. Having it integrated into the pant helps so that you're not getting things up into the boot unless it's really high water, but it's, protecting the feet, and then just having the steel toe and other elements of the boot that are protecting your feet so that if you're dropping something on your feet or kicking something or stepping on something hot or whatever it might be, you're not injuring your foot, because obviously that's a quick way to take you out of service. So it's just a pretty routine piece that we take for granted, I think, when we're out on scenes, is that our feet are well protected in our boots, and that you can go almost anywhere you need to go.
Okay. And then I see you got a reflective vest. We'll talk about that real quick. Well, how come you have a reflective vest with your gear?
So the reflective piece is built in to the gear so that you can see this. This works particularly well like on a structure fire, where you're moving around and there might be flashlights and you're reflecting off another firefighter's gear so you can keep track of where they are. Mm-hmm. We add the vest, and so in areas where we need particularly high visibility, like on a roadway, we add the vest, and so firefighters will put the vest on. They're required by the department to put the vest on and have this on, so we're getting increased visibility so that we're not having one accident turn into multiple accidents with people getting hit by vehicles or something like that. Certainly we know that this doesn't mean that people will see us, but we do know that it helps increase the likelihood that we're more visible and people are more aware that there's firefighters moving around on the roadway. So this will get added to the gear or taken off the gear. Some firefighters wear it most of the time, and then I'll take it off on a structure fire or something like that. Other firefighters like myself, I'll add it when I need it, put it on when I need it on, and then take it off or store it. So
excellent. Let's move on to you got your mask and your flash hood.
Yep. So the hood is this is another Nomex piece. This is, again, goes with all the gear, so this is particularly important on, say, something like a vehicle fire or a structure fire, that this is going to go on. The firefighter is going to wear this. Typically the best way to do this is to put it on before the coat goes on, because then you get it zipped in, and of course the easiest way is to just put it on, and then you can take it off and then get the rest of your gear on. The helmet's going to go, or the mask is going to go on under the hood, so then this is going to go on, and then the hood's going to come back over and strap this in place. So again, when we're done and all of the gear's in place where it belongs, the firefighter is very well protected from heat, smoke, other things. And then of course the mask is going to connect with the pack. And so there's an SCBA pack on the truck that's going to connect to the mask and allow the firefighter to breathe. In my case, my mask looks a little funny because I need to wear glasses, and so I've got my glasses built into my mask that I can put on and wear. So they're right there waiting for me.
All right.
Or I can pull them out if I don't need them.
So you want to be able to see where you're going with your
Yes, and in my case, without the glasses, I might as well I wouldn't make it here, so it wouldn't
All
be
right.
a safe driving experience.
Let's talk a little bit about the helmet, and you happen to have a new style helmet that we're switching to as a department.
I do. So here's the progression of helmets that you know well.
Yep.
Folks that have seen firefighters out on scenes will, at this point, will have seen all three helmets. This one's been in place since, I think you said 95.
Right around that time frame, so
It's a fairly traditional firefighter style helmet. A lot of folks call it the New York style helmet. And then we transitioned to this one about 3 years ago, I think.
Yep.
And have been using this one, but not all firefighters transition. We started a gradual replacement of helmets. And so this is one that some firefighters have as they needed it, or as rookies came on, they were assigned this style of helmet.
Yep.
And then this is the style that we're currently using and that we're moving to department-wide. And so we refer to it in the department as a European style helmet, but it's a much more ergonomically comfortable helmet for firefighters to wear. Both previous styles had that tail or that lip off the back that was originally designed to move water off the firefighter's head and keep other things from going down the back of your jacket. This style helmet doesn't have that. It's just a straight drop on the back. But when the gear is appropriately or correctly worn, you don't have that risk of stuff going down there because the gear is tight up around your neck. And this one's got face masks as well that'll drop down. And so it's just a much more comfortable helmet. I've been wearing this one now for about a year, and it's just, you don't know that it's on your head after a period of time. You know, it gets comfortable. Whereas both previous styles of helmet were, after a short period of time, they were uncomfortable and you were looking forward to a break to take them off because your head hurt.
Yep.
Because they just weren't very comfortable.
as far as weight-wise, all three are very similar in weight. They're within ounces truly of each other. It's how it sits on your head.
Yeah.
These two helmets here, the older styles, sit on top of your head, where this one sits down and around your head, more like a motorcycle helmet.
And I know it looks a little different. It's not the traditional style of helmet that folks are used to seeing firefighters wear, especially in the Twin Cities area. But it's just much more comfortable, and it seems like a much more practical solution, and I think it's a great thing that we're moving to those.
Some of the other things that we're working on, or that we're looking forward into the future, I got two of them here. This one here is a helmet cam that we're doing one. We have one of these in service right now as a demo to try it out, and then the little silver one here is also a dash cam. So our plan here, similar to what you see on this helmet, is the flashlight. It would mount similar to that on the helmet, but this would actually give us video at scenes, whether it's a structure fire, car fire. What would be the purpose of us for videoing a scene?
Well, I think that from my perspective, the biggest piece is training, is that we can go back and look at what we did well, where mistakes might have been made, highlight different things. Maybe there's mistakes that, with the dash cam that others are making that we need to look at. How do we more safely get our way to a scene and navigate traffic, etc., and collect some of that information and then be able to reuse that information and go back, as opposed to relying on our memory and saying, oh yeah, this happened, and telling stories. We'll actually be able to go back and have factual information, have documented footage that we can say, look at this is what was happening. I think it also helps portray what actually happens in a structure fire.
Correct.
Whereas when you watch things on TV, like the newest one is Chicago Fire, it's amazingly clear in there. There's never very much smoke in any of those fires. And looking at something like helmet cam footage clears it up and says, this is what it looks like in a structure fire. Visibility is limited. It's very difficult to see, and you can start going through some of that and sharing some of that information and using it either as a reflective tool or as a proactive tool to train folks who may not have been in that type of situation, to say, this is what you need to be thinking about, this is what you need to be prepared for.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me. We covered a lot in a short amount of time about our gear. Appreciate you being on Chief's Corner.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.
So, you're out for an evening of ice fishing all by yourself. You don't have a care in the world. Well, you were thinking about catching the big one. You didn't notice the hole in the ice and you fell into the frigid water. Now your clothes are wet, heavy, and you can't seem to climb out. Soon hypothermia, the lowering of your inner core temperature, will begin, and you can't see anybody to help. What are you gonna do? This message provided by your local public safety and fire departments.
Now let's take a look at some recent activity around the fire department. LFD has co-owned a training facility along with fire departments from Burnsville, Apple Valley, and Egan called ABLE since the 1980s. Recently, both structures were torn down to make way for a new training facility. The 4 cities involved determined that these buildings needed to be replaced due to damages done from all the years of training. Each city will share in the cost of replacing the structures. Firefighters will be able to train at the new facility this summer. Every 2 years, LFD reviews assignments for a variety of positions. For 2013, some changes have been made and some individuals will continue at the same rank. At Station 1, Scott Bakos will continue to be captain and Brian Cluck will continue to be lieutenant. At Station 3, Jeff Anderson is changing from lieutenant to captain and Todd Munson will be replacing Jeff as the new lieutenant. And congratulations to Brian Kilmartin, who was reassigned to District Chief of Training. Earlier in the show, we covered how the fire department would respond to a vehicle fire in a parking structure, but in mid-November, LFD responded to a vehicle fire near the intersection of Ipava and 175th Street. The driver of this 1989 Volkswagen Vanagon noticed smoke from the back of the vehicle and decided to pull over. It should be noted that the engine is located in the rear of this vehicle where the fire appeared to have started. A couple of fire extinguishers were used from passing motorists, but the fire could not be brought under control. Police arrived on the scene first and shut down the road to passing motorists. During many vehicle fires, oftentimes tires, shocks, and other parts can explode, causing a concern for all in the area. Crews from Station 3 and 4 arrived shortly after the call and quickly worked to put the fire out. Luckily, nobody was harmed in the incident, but unfortunately for the owner, the vehicle was a total loss. LFD responded to a semi that was on fire south of town near the intersection of Dodd Boulevard and 240th Street. By the time first responders arrived, the driver had put out the fire with an extinguisher that was located in the truck. Firefighters checked out the rig for hotspots and controlled traffic in the area until a tow company could remove the vehicle from the road. Area fire departments will help each other out occasionally when there is an incident that is too large for one department. In early December, LFD was called to aid Apple Valley Fire at a condominium structure near County Road 42 and Pilot Knob Road. Fire departments from Lakeville, Rosemount, and Egan assisted Apple Valley with the fire and the related cleanup and investigation. Everyone escaped the building, but a couple firefighters were injured during the event. A cause for what started the fire is still under investigation, but it appears that it started in a unit on the ground floor. This is a good example of mutual aid among area fire departments and helps control the fire department's operating costs. And that is some of the latest activity around the fire department.
It's I, Scratch the fire dog, because I like to scratch out the fires. Hey, look at it, it's just snowed out here. And Taber sent me out to double check that everyone in my neighborhood was properly shoveling out their fire hydrant. So hey, let's hop in the fire wagon and see if we can find any hydrants that aren't being shoveled. Ah! Sorry about that, they're just getting a little dramatic. Let's get in the back. Well, everybody, we have gotten into the van and we are now cruising around to see how well my neighbors have dug out their fire hydrants in the neighborhood. Let's see, here we go. Oh, look at, there's one. Hey, look at, there's one that's uncovered. Very good, that's a one. And let's go. Oh, look at over that way. Look at that one's uncovered too. So that's a two that have been dug out. Oh, these people are so smart. And hey, look at, there's some children buried up to their ankles. Hey, that's a joke, folks. Hey, look at that one. It's got somebody's stocking cap on it. Hey, look at that. It's Santa Claus. Hey, people, you're not supposed to decorate your fire hydrants. It can be dangerous. I can't believe it. Somebody put the head of Santa Claus on there. Here we go. Here's a... Oh, no, I can't believe it. Look at that. There's another one. Oh, that one's almost completely covered. Oh, no, how are these people expecting their houses to get saved if their fire hydrants are covered and the firefighters can't get to them? I don't know. These people are just crazy. at that guy. He's digging out to the fire hydrant. Oh, look at he's getting a good and deep. Oh, look at him do his job there. Oh, very good. Oh, very nice. Oh, look at he's getting all the way around the hydrant. And the firefighters are gonna have no trouble getting to that hydrant. Folks, I think this is a fantastic. Oh, we did such a good job of cruising into my neighborhood that I think it's time to go back and park in the driveway and consider this a successful operation. Oh, Taber will be so proud of me. Everybody, I can't believe it. Everybody, just about everybody in this neighborhood shoveled out their fire hydrants. Maybe there's a one or two slackers in the area that didn't shovel out their hydrants, but wait a minute. What's that smell? I smell gas. No, not that kind of gas. Hey, look it over there, coming from that home. Somebody is warming up their car inside the garage. Don't they know that could be hazardous to their health and their family? Hey, let's head on over there and straighten them out. Hey, I can't believe it. Hey, you homeowner in there.
Yeah, what do you want, dog face?
Hey, do you know you got the gas in your garage?
Well, I get gas all the time.
Yeah, no, your car, it's running inside of the garage.
So what if I'm running my car in the garage? What's it to you, mister?
You are not supposed to run your automobile inside the garage because it'll fill your home up with carbon monoxide.
Really?
You didn't know that? Well, you know what? You're not supposed to run your car that way, even to warm it up.
I'm not supposed to run it in the garage at all?
And you shouldn't be running your car because someone might take it.
Well, I'll be sidewind up a totem pole. Well, I'll fix that right away, and I'll remember not to run it in the garage again. Thanks a lot, dog-face boy.
What a dumb cuff. Well, anyway, everyone, this is Scratch the Fire Dog, once again saving the neighborhoods here in Lakeville. I can't believe that, running their car inside the garage. They're gonna fill their home with deadly gas. Oh, P.U. Well, folks, until next time, this is Scratch the Fire Dog, because I like to scratch out the fires and keep gas out of the home. See you later, everybody.
Thanks for joining us for this edition of On Call. If you have questions, comments, an idea for the program, or want to send a question in to Ask the Firefighter, feel free to call us at 952-985-4700 or use the email address on your screen and send us an email. Thanks for joining us, and all fire units are clear.